Go live. An error occurred. Oh, it is live. It's doing that same thing. Okay, we're just going to ignore that. And for those of you that are hopping on, I am just setting up my streams so that we are streaming in several places. And it is now officially connected to Instagram. Okay, let's talk about how often you need to soak in magnesium. And I wish I could say this is exactly how often you need to soak. I don't have that answer. I want to talk to two different groups of people. The first group of people, life is happening so hard and so fast, and your brain capacity is at absolute maximum, and you have no white space left. Please tell me I'm not the only one who has lived at that point. If that is you, soak 3 times a week. Just call it good. Soak 3 times a week and call it good. If you can do the 30-day challenge, if you have the bandwidth and the space, start with the 30-day challenge. Don't beat yourself up if you're not able to complete the 30-day challenge, but let's get some saturation going in those cells. And then when you're done with the 30-day challenge, go right to soaking 3 times a week. And that way, your brain doesn't have to figure anything out. And sometimes just estimating and assuming is the best. Now, if you do have the bandwidth, let's go a little bit deeper onto how to determine how often you need to soak in magnesium. Your personal burn rate is different than mine. Let's go over some things that will take away from your magnesium levels, increasing your personal burn rate. When your personal burn rate is higher, you need to soak more often. Living the good life naturally is not just about soaking in magnesium. It's helping you learn tools and skills to keep your magnesium burn rate low. So when you do soak in magnesium, it is as efficient as possible, and you are out there living this great big life. And let's see. Okay, Shelly, I've got a little technical issue. Oh, okay. On your personal burn rate, let's ask ourselves a couple of questions. And when you say yes to one of these questions, bump up your need to soak in magnesium. If you are under a lot of stress, your magnesium burn rate goes up. If you are someone who experienced trauma as a child and you haven't found that place of, I feel good, up your personal burn rate. If you are on medications, your need for magnesium goes up. If you eat a lot of sugar, your magnesium levels go up. If you eat a lot of carbs, more carbs than what your body needs, your magnesium burn rate goes up. If you are perimenopause, menopausal, or postmenopause, your magnesium burn rate goes up. If you've just had surgery, it has depleted your magnesium levels. The anesthesia drops them drastically. Let's get you in there, do another 30-day challenge because your magnesium burn rates went up. If you are someone who manages chronic pain, specific pain in your body that is constant, migraines, your personal magnesium burn rate just went up. If you are someone who has autoimmune, your personal magnesium burn rate went up. If you are someone who doesn't eat a lot of fresh food, vegetables, and you don't chew them well, your personal magnesium burn rate just went up. If you are someone who has gut issues, that you are not on top, I don't want to say it that way. Let me pull that back. You experience digestion issues, your personal magnesium burn rate went up. If you are someone who does not get the required amount of sleep for your body, your personal magnesium burn rate just went up. At this point, you might be saying, Kristen, my magnesium burn rate is through the roof. That's okay. You just recognized some steps that you can take to bring your magnesium burn rate down. Does everyone need magnesium? Yes, because we use it and utilize magnesium every day in our body. If your magnesium levels are low, your vitamin D is low. In fact, a low vitamin D is actually saying, hey, you don't have enough magnesium. Magnesium dropped first before the low vitamin D dropped. And what kind of testing am I talking about? I am talking about a magnesium red blood cell test. And I bet Shelly's with us today, and I bet Shelly can throw up the blood work. Oh, she already has. I see the link up there. Thank you, Shelly. I'm not talking about serum. I'm talking about red blood cell. My goal with magnesium is maintaining cell saturation. A pill that is isolated nutrients. And when you take something in a pill form, that's what it is. It's been heated, it's been pulverized. Most of them have been created in a lab, cannot get most people to cell saturation. It doesn't have enough magnesium. And to take enough of that pill to achieve cell saturation, you would have stomach upset. That's why I soak in magnesium. I like things easy, and I don't want to have to figure out I need this type of magnesium, and this type of magnesium works for this, and this type of magnesium works for this. I want my body having all of the magnesium that it needs, and then stepping into the brilliance of putting that magnesium where it needs to go. That's why I focus on cell saturation. That has been the biggest step that I ever took to increase my vitamin D levels. Part of my crash on my surgery was low vitamin D levels. Now, they did put cadaver graft in me that was bought off market and had mold. They did put titanium in me, and at the time they thought titanium was inert, and now we know it is not. There's a small percentage of the population that reacts to the titanium. Raise your hand. That's me. I also had low vitamin D and autoimmune issues going into that surgery. The combination of those things happening crashed my body, ended up in a wheelchair, having my head held up by a little bar, and daily seizures. The most important step that I took looking back at my journey over the last 20 years to reclaim my health, create optimal health, and maintaining my health is optimizing my vitamin D levels. Most important step. It is the first gateway to create optimal health. Doing that makes creating health easier, and you do that. You optimize your vitamin D levels by having enough magnesium in your body, because magnesium converts your stored vitamin D into active vitamin D. And that's the foundation. That is the foundation of health. I was online the other day answering questions, and there was a conversation between two women, and I wasn't sure if I should jump into that conversation or not. I opted not to. I do want to bring it up here because I think it's a really important conversation to be having. And that is, I'm not experiencing anything. I'm not getting any benefit from this magnesium, and I've soaked this many times. Therefore, I deserve for that magnesium to work. Magnesium shines the light on what is broken in your body. If you are not experiencing the benefits of soaking in magnesium, you have a crack in your foundation, and your body is giving you feedback to heal that crack if we listen and pay attention. That's a tough one to hear, though, when you're having a conversation with someone else on social media and saying, hey, this stuff doesn't work. It does work. We've got to figure out where the crack is. That can be low stomach acid. That can be not enough vitamin B. That can be not enough hydration. That can be a taurine deficiency. It can be a boron deficiency. There's some places that we have to look at. Magnesium decreases inflammation in your body. Studies show when you create a magnesium-rich environment, you are decreasing inflammation in your body. And here's what happens, Jennifer. You start soaking and you get excited about all of the things that you see happening, and you want to share that with your family. And Jennifer's question is, I just bought the kit, the magnesium bundle of all the products. Question, can I soak my feet at the same time as my kids, or do we have to do our own soak? Here's what I've learned over the last 20 years that I'll share with you, Jennifer, that you can make the best decision for yourself and your children. Number one, adults require a quarter cup of magnesium to soak in. Number two, children don't require as much. An eighth of a cup of magnesium to soak in is a good place for them to start. When you put a couple people soaking in the same water, the person who is the most deficient will pull the most magnesium up. We saw that 100% consistently with thermal imaging. On thermal imaging, you can watch the magnesium, your body utilize the magnesium and watch it pump up through your body. And the most deficient person pumped the most. You can do that though. If that works for you and you're getting your magnesium in, then do it. Imperfect action creates optimal health. Let's repeat that. Imperfect action creates optimal health. Sometimes we can learn things on social media and then we beat ourselves up with it because we're not doing it perfectly. Now, Jennifer and I have shared and talked with each other about the person who's the most efficient will pull the most. And so let's say one of your kids is more deficient than anyone. They're the one that the stress comes out the most in. They don't sleep as well. They're going to pull more magnesium. So it's not going to be this child gets an eighth of a cup, this child got their eighth of a cup, and I got my quarter of a cup. If that's working for you and you're able to get soaking in, then I would be all over that. If it makes it easier, I would do it. Just understand that in the beginning, especially in the beginning, that magnesium is not being distributed evenly throughout the people who are soaking. I hope that that helps, Jennifer, answer your question about soaking in magnesium. We don't have to do it perfectly to achieve optimal health. I am living proof. I do not do things perfectly. Something done is better than getting stuck on trying to do it perfectly. And if that fits in your routine and you're able to get those kids in and get your feet in and soak in magnesium, I would be all over the moon and celebrating big time that I had figured out how to do that and introduce magnesium into my family, help my children create that magnesium-rich environment so that they can enjoy optimal health. If you have one of you that you know is struggling, that is really magnesium deficient, they're very reactive. People who are magnesium deficient and have started creating calcium dominance, they tend to be stuck. They have a hard time moving forward. They're very non-bendable in their mental and physical movement. You will see a change come in the fluidity of how your body moves when you start creating a magnesium-rich environment from a calcium-dominant environment. Jennifer, I'm so glad that that helped you. And if that comes up in the back of your head, and the reason I address this is I have an inner dialogue. and I'm responsible for it now. It was created by a father with some narcissistic tendencies. He did his best. I absorbed everything and believed everything he said as a little girl. And so that dialogue comes up for me. And if anyone else is out there and experiences that internal dialogue, Jennifer, if you're soaking and you're like, oh, I'm the one that's the most stressed and I'm taking magnesium for my kids, let's just say to ourselves, excuse me, I am done with that. Let that thought just go right down those train tracks. I am celebrating the fact that I have got all of us soaking in magnesium, and we are going to claim a magnesium rich environment and walk away from calcium dominance. Celebrate the imperfect action that you took. In fact, if I had to tell you as women, one thing that will help your magnesium burn rate more than the food you eat, more than the sleep, more than anything, it's celebrating imperfect action. That is the most important thing that I see helping women hold on to their magnesium and create a lower burn rate. When you create a lower burn rate, your body is more efficient at uptaking the magnesium. Your hormones will become more efficient. Your cells will become more sensitive to insulin and the hormones that it needs. Celebrate the imperfect action. Soaking in that magnesium with your kids and beating yourself up that you didn't do a separate soak for each person is the very thing that gets us magnesium deficient. And so I'm doing some celebrating with you that you accomplished that and you're walking towards a magnesium rich environment and walking away from a calcium dominant environment. When you're calcium dominant, your personality changes, your body doesn't heal as fast, and you start feeling really stuck in your life. Let's get that fluidity back and create a magnesium rich environment. Oh, great question, Sherry. From Emmett, Idaho. Welcome to our magnesium moment. Just got diagnosed with Hashimoto's. Absolutely, soaking in magnesium has been shown to benefit Hashimoto's. Hashimoto's is an autoimmune, and it means your thyroid's doing all sorts of different things, and that's hard on your body. It's floating from overproducing to underproducing, and it's going back and forth, and you just get on top of what you think it needs, and the needs of the thyroid change. The most important thing when you are focused on Hashimoto's is reducing inflammation and creating a magnesium rich environment so that healing can start to happen with your thyroid. Anytime we have a thyroid issue, it actually started out as an adrenal issue. Think of two horses that are pulling a wagon, and they need to pull it equally. They need to both pull their weight in that wagon. Well, we're going to call one of those horses adrenal and one of those horses thyroid. And when they're pulling their weight equally, each horse is doing what it needs to do to keep the wagon moving forward. And when you don't have enough voltage in your cells, and this is where I'm adding my disclaimer because I forgot to add that. I'm not a doctor. I am not diagnosing. I am not telling you what to do. I just want to share what I've learned and what helped me maintain optimal health and get out of that wheelchair. I'm sharing things for you to make the best decision for you. When you've got those two horses and we don't have optimal voltage, then the first horse that starts to go down is adrenal. That adrenal horse starts to get tired and it can't get kickstarted and it can't get doing what it's supposed to do. Well, your thyroid is so important to your body that the thyroid starts to pick up what the adrenals are supposed to be doing in moving forward. And so the thyroid does that. It's like, okay, I'll support this foundation. So you've got adrenals that are tired and not doing what they're able to do. And then you've got thyroid overworking. And then eventually the thyroid goes, well, this is exhausting and I'm not functioning like I should be. And both of those horses get really tired, and one will stop and then the other will stop, and then they try to go forward and they can't. In my opinion, the most important thing is creating voltage for your foundation, voltage and opening the gateway of vitamin D. Anytime that my body is not where I want it to be, that's where I look. I look at voltage and where is my vitamin D. The first place I look is voltage, magnesium, potassium, and salt. That creates voltage for the cell. Your adrenals run on potassium and salt. And if your adrenals are wound tightly, they need magnesium to relax them to utilize the potassium and the salt. And that's what creates a strong foundation. Soaking in magnesium helps your body to create voltage, and that increases the energy and what adrenals can do for your thyroid. Any type of thyroid issue, that's where I would focus, is where is my voltage and how is it affecting my vitamin D levels. It's not just that we can create voltage and then vitamin D optimizes. Sometimes the vitamin D has gotten so low and we're living in a way that we're not utilizing the sunshine appropriate for our bodies, that it takes some more steps. That's why I created the magnesium morning trifecta. That magnesium morning trifecta, walking in the early morning sunshine, getting the resonance of the violet rays that only happen in the first 2 hours of the sun coming up to help you naturally reduce your inflammation, and then soaking in magnesium. Over the years, I have watched women thrive when they do that imperfectly. It's not always perfect. It's not that, oh, I woke up and I walked and, as the sun came up and then I soaked in magnesium. When you have that on your radar and you're creating that happening in your life and you start becoming more consistent with it, that is the most powerful layer that I've seen that propels women forward in creating optimal health, no matter what it is that they are experiencing said disease. Whatever that is, imbalanced hormones, not sleeping, autoimmune, migraines, gallbladder issues, whatever it is, going back to the beginning, building a strong foundation, creating voltage, optimizing vitamin D, making sure that your stored vitamin D and your active vitamin D are in proper proportions is what walks you away from calcium dominance. Shelly just posted some questions that had come in from Instagram. I don't see them on my feed, so a huge thank you to Shelly for posting those. Should I put more magnesium soak in a bath than a regular foot soak? When I first started soaking, I thought for sure that when I soaked in the bathtub, my body was utilizing more magnesium. I also thought if I use more magnesium, I'm going to get more benefit. And it was a lie. As I started doing testing and evaluating and tracking and seeing what happened in thousands of people, I noticed more does not equate faster cell saturation. And the bathtub does not mean that you're uptaking and utilizing more magnesium. I thought it would because it makes sense. More of my body is exposed to the magnesium. Your feet are what uptake and pump the magnesium through your body. Yes, you will get some benefit from soaking. We've all utilized, well, not all of us, but many of us have utilized an Epsom salt bath, and we know how relaxing that is. We're soaking in magnesium soak because the goal is cell saturation, and we recognize that the most magnesium is pumping in through our body, through our feet. And it did not show a difference to be more effective in achieving cell saturation, utilizing more magnesium in the bathtub, adding more magnesium, or soaking more often than every 24 hours. I am hoping, let's see, Elias, that helped you to make the decision that's best for you. One of the things that my husband has been known to do, we always have our magnesium right there by the bathtub, and he'll glug, 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 glug. And I'll be like, Morgan, you don't need that much magnesium. And he'll be like, oh, but it feels so good. A quarter of a cup versus a half a cup doesn't get you feeling better faster than that optimized 1/4 cup. My goal, soaking in magnesium to achieve cell saturation, is minimum input for maximum output. More than a quarter of a cup does not get you there faster than that beneficial 1/4 cup of magnesium to help your body achieve cell saturation. Laura, I want to specifically read this question that is underneath one of those ads, and that is a discussion suggested adding 1 to 4 cups of Epsom salt to the soap depending on liver function. I don't know if I have an issue with liver function. Should I do 2 cups? Is 4 cups safe? Can you elaborate on the benefits of adding Epsom salt to the magnesium soak? Great question, Laura. I'm glad you asked it. And here are my thoughts on adding Epsom salt. Absolutely, you can add it. Do you have to? No. My goal, again, you have to determine what your goal is. My goal is maintaining cell saturation of 6.3 or above with my magnesium red blood cell test. That's my goal for magnesium. It will always be my goal for magnesium and has been my goal with magnesium for over 20 years. And now I just maintain that. Epsom salts and magnesium soak are similar and very different at the same time. So let's go down to structurally what's the difference. Magnesium soak has been shown to penetrate the cell more efficiently than Epsom salts. If your goal is cell saturation and you're utilizing Epsom salts, most people cannot achieve or maintain because Epsom salts don't have nearly the magnesium that magnesium soak does. Is what Epsom salts have that magnesium soak does not have is sulfates. Sulfates are a boost to your liver. Some people, if you get in an Epsom salt bath and you feel horrific, you have an issue breaking those down. Most people can, but some people cannot. And I see it often enough that I want to make sure to throw that out. Adding the Epsom salts to your magnesium soak isn't about adding more magnesium. It's about adding the sulfate for your liver and getting that double boost of sulfates and enough magnesium to achieve cell saturation. You can, when I add Epsom salts to my bath, I've added anywhere from a 1/4 of a cup in my foot soak up to 4 cups in a bathtub. There is not an exact on that. It's what works for your body and what your body can utilize. Do you have to utilize Epsom salts to achieve cell saturation? Absolutely not. Do you want to have a stacking of functions and give your liver something that we know will benefit it at the same time? Absolutely. I keep a really pretty, aesthetically beautiful jar full of Epsom salts and will just throw a handful in my bathtub when I'm soaking. I don't do it every time. It does give my liver benefit. And anytime I can do that stacking of functions, it's easier to maintain health and create those habits that help me achieve cell saturation. April, this is a great question. And I'm so glad that you asked it. I have a family member starting a GLP-1 for weight loss. For those of you that are not familiar with the GLP-1, think Ozempic, Mounjaro, Wegovy. Would your soak help them to hydrate and keep those low electrolyte type symptoms down? Yes. I'm not a doctor. I'm sharing with you what I've seen with people utilizing a GLP-1 medication. One of the things that happens with a GLP-1 is your intestines and your digestion slow down. It becomes incredibly important for those who are on a GLP-1 to keep that digestion and peristaltic action moving. Magnesium helps your body to do that more efficiently. Those on a GLP-1 medication, it becomes even more important to utilize soaking in magnesium to help maintain electrolyte balance. Studies have shown that that helps. When you're on the GLP-1, electrolytes become imbalanced, changing the voltage to the cell. And maintaining that becomes incredibly important. Most people on a GLP-1 medication become not hungry. It closes down the food chatter in their head, and they forget sometimes to eat. You have to maintain those basics to get the full benefit from the GL1 medication. Okay, April, you have a family. Oh, okay, we did that. Sorry, I already hit on that one. And then I did it, but I didn't know why. Amy, I'm missing what's happening there, and I apologize. Thank you for the awesome reply on Epsom salt. You're so welcome, Laura. The same discussion I referenced also recommended adding baking soda and borax, a pinch, to the magnesium soak. Absolutely, you can. Boron will change the pH of the water, helping your skin to uptake more. Boron does not go into the body efficiently through the skin. It does change the pH of the water, helping you to utilize your soaking time more efficiently, but it does not cover your body's need for boron if you're boron deficient. For example, boron is something that I take not every single day, but several times throughout the week. It helps me hold magnesium in my cell, and it helps keep inflammation down, especially if I'm having an arthritis flare. Remember, I'm not a doctor. I have to be so careful on this, or the sites that I'm on will take the video away. I'm not a doctor. I'm not diagnosing. I'm not prescribing. I'm sharing with you what works for me, and you are uptaking the information through what works for you. I would never assume to tell someone what to do. For me, internally taking the boron has helped tremendously. So when we add boron to the water, people will assume, oh, that's doing, my body's uptaking the boron. The boron, very little goes through the skin. Is what the boron is doing is changing the pH of the water and giving your body the ability to uptake it, the magnesium soak, more efficiently. The baking soda, the same thing. It changes the charge in the water, just making it a little bit easier for your body to uptake that magnesium soak. If I were well, let's say this. I am someone that I have autoimmune, and I very much focus on keeping my body in fight or flight. For example, my kids used to always say, Mom, you can't tell when you go, if you found a great pair of shoes, or if you came across someone in the street that had been harmed and needed help, you can't tell the difference. I had no idea that reaction that was the same to each one of those was actually a body in fight or flight from trauma I experienced as a kid. One of my goals that I focus on every single day at the top of every hour is a question that I ask myself: am I calm? Am I relaxed? Am I in fight or flight? And then I utilize those tools to put me back in rest and renew mode and that calm mode, because if we're in fight or flight, we are constantly pushing magnesium out. A magnesium rich environment is so much easier to create when you are in that calm, rest and renew. Everything is good in my world. If you're in that, what's going to happen next? This is so stressful. Oh, what happened? If you're in that fight or flight mode, then you're constantly pushing magnesium out, and creating help becomes so incredibly hard and takes so much longer financially, emotionally, and mentally. What is the functional range, Trisha wants to know, for lab results with the magnesium red blood cell test? We want 6.3 milligrams of magnesium. I want to make sure that people understand, though, that's what I'm looking at, is that 6.3. Years and years ago, the labs dropped the levels for magnesium. And I had a really good conversation with numerous people trying to figure out, why did they used to say my blood needed to be 6.3 milligrams of magnesium, and now they're saying 5.0. The reason for that is no one was at 6.3. No one could get there. So they dropped the standard because no one could get there. Just because people are sicker and we're getting sicker every year as a society does not mean I'm dropping my standard for what my body needs when it comes to magnesium. I still go by that old standard that is the gold standard of 6.3 or above in milligrams. Sometimes your test will come back in millimoles and it will look very off. I have a blog post that Sarah created an equation to help you convert millimoles to milligrams to determine where you're at. And maybe you want the new standard of 5, and that's what your goal is. I am maintaining the gold standard from years ago of 6.3 or above. Magnesium opens the gateway of health for your body. Soaking in magnesium helps you maintain cell saturation and helps your body optimize your vitamin D levels. I go by the old 6.3. Most labs will tell you that 5 is good enough. It's not for me. I'm maintaining the standard that has been there from the beginning of time. Does unfiltered water interrupt benefits? Dana, I believe, is your first name from your handle. It can slow it down a little bit, and that's when you would want to put in the boron and or the baking soda, and you can do one or both of those, but you don't have to, and it's so minimal that I wouldn't even worry about it if you're at that point of, I'm doing all that I can do. I just need to soak my feet in magnesium to stay in this optimized magnesium rich environment. If you've got the time and you've got the bandwidth, absolutely add that to your water and it will give you that tiny bump. Is it a massive bump? Absolutely not. I have one more question that I want to answer, and then our time is actually up. Kelly at Really Vintage. Oh, I'm going to go check out your feed because I love thrifting and I love vintage. So I think we might hang out and be really good friends. So Kelly said, my adult daughter with special needs will not keep her feet in the soak. I have the lotion and the spray. What is the best way to utilize those for her body? The spray. If I had someone who was not able to bathe and was not keeping their feet in the soak, the next place that I would go to is the spray, spraying them on the bottom of her feet morning and night, or more often if possible. Morning and night, I think, is easier for people to add to their routine as they get ready. We tend to have stronger routines in the morning and at nighttime. If you can get more than that throughout the day, that's going to help optimize her levels more quickly and more efficiently than the lotion. The lotion was created for people with very sensitive skin and who needed to take a very slow approach to adding magnesium because their voltage has been off for so long. Many times, if your voltage has been off for a long time and your body doesn't have the potassium and salt, and then you introduce magnesium, you create a deeper imbalance. Magnesium is the master mineral, and your body will drop the potassium to uptake the magnesium. And if your potassium is already low and your body drops even more, you can feel so exhausted after soaking in magnesium. Utilizing some potassium, coconut water, celery juice, avocado, white beans, utilizing something like that to help bring that potassium up quickly will take it away like that. I've loved hanging out with you in our magnesium moment. My name's Kristen Bowen. I'm a magnesium advocate and have been for over 20 plus years. My goal is creating a magnesium-rich environment for my body to optimize my health so that I can get out there and do the things that I love to do, which is thrifting, vintage, hanging out with grandbabies, and my company, Living the Good Life Naturally. It's my passion, and I love to show up every day and have conversations like this. I am convinced we need more women waking up feeling good, because when you do, you immediately start creating something and you lift those people around you, in your family, in your neighborhood, in your community, in your country. And we need more people, especially women, doing that. And I would love to be a part of your journey. I do the Magnesium Moment live every Monday and Wednesday on several social media channels, Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram. We go 9 a.m. live for about 30-ish minutes. I also have a magnesium masterclass that you might enjoy if you've enjoyed this magnesium moment. That magnesium masterclass only goes out to the Good Life Journal. It's a link on Zoom. There is no cost for this class. You do have to show up on video. You wouldn't show up to class in person with a paper bag over your head. It would create some chaos in the class. And going live on a class, I do expect people to show up by video, because we're creating community. We are creating connection on that class. I call it a show up as you are. Sometimes I've showed up actually in some pajamas and my teeth were brushed, but it was just a crazy day. So it's a show up as you are kind of class. And you do have to have that video on. That class happens the first Monday of every month at 11 a.m. Mountain Standard Time. And that's where we get a little bit more connected. I can see your face. We can communicate back and forth through the application of Zoom. I'd love to have you join me there also. It's been delightful being with you. Thank you for the questions that came in. And my final question for you: take action from this call. What was the most important thing and your most important giveaway that will help you move forward and create optimal health? By taking a moment and going through your brain and determining what was the insight that I'm walking away, what is that powerful insight, and throwing it up on the screen, it does a couple of things. It moves you into action. We're stuck in our heads. If you're not creating the health that you want, I promise you a part of that equation is because you're stuck in your head learning and researching health. I love learning. I will always love learning. We have to get out of our head and create it in the real world. And so by you sharing your powerful insight, you've taken a micro action and you've set a pattern to take more action to create optimal health. Versus when you don't say anything, you don't interact, you don't create anything, you've just taken more things in, and then you're going on to the next thing. That could be a dopamine issue, that you got that hit of dopamine, but you didn't do anything to quote, and I need to figure out a way to say this. Earned dopamine is so beneficial. Unearned dopamine actually burns out our dopamine receptors, and then we go to the next thing to learn about health, and then we go to the next thing to learn about health, because it's lighting up our dopamine centers and we feel like we've done something to create optimal health, when in actuality we didn't. We just sat there scrolling or listening. I would love for you to create a micro action and share in the notes what your powerful takeaway and connection was from our time together. We've now spent 43 minutes. I'm out of here. Have a great day. And I'll see you Wednesday on the Magnesium Moment on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube. Those 3 places I stream it every Monday and Wednesday at 9 a.m. Mountain Standard Time. Have the best day. Bye, guys.